Okay, while my little dog bones are baking, I thought I would mix up the second treat that I'm going to be making, again for dogs. And this is my little dog cookies. Instead of the instead of the peanut butter, we're going to be using molasses. Same principle of the thing, except a little different flavor. And these are going to be little cookies. We're going to be doing little cookies. So there's a few things that are different. I again have my little hand mixer out here, but I think I'm going to try to do it with my trusty bread spoon. I think I can do that faster. I'm one of these people that, the less tools the better, because I am lazy. I don't want to wash the dishes, but also I think it's quicker to just use a simple tool than to get out every tool in your house. So sometimes I do use them, but when I don't need to, I don't use it. Okay, now this is a little different kind of a recipe than what we did before. The other was really straightforward and simple. This is made more like a traditional cookie would be made, as it has dry ingredients, including leavening, something that's going to make it rise. It's not going to rise a lot, but it's going to make it a little lighter. We don't want to be feeding lead balls to a dog. So it's just it just gives it a little lighter, crispier, easier for them to chew, because it's going to be a ball, easier for them to bite and chew. If they're too hard, some of the little dogs won't be able to eat it. Of course, it's not a regular cookie. You could eat it. There's nothing in them that it's not good, but there's not going to have any sugar. That's the idea. We want to eliminate the sugar from their diets. Okay, so this is what we're doing. I'm going to be putting my wet ingredients in my bowl, and I'm going to be putting my dry ingredients in another bowl. Let me get that out and get my dry first. And remember, I said we don't add the flour until we see how much. Well, in a traditional cookie recipe, you sort of have it pre-measured. So I'm going to do that way, give them the benefit of the doubt. If it's too wet, I can add a little more liquid. If it's too dry, I can just add a little more flour. But a bulk cookie is a little more forgiving than something that you're going to roll, and it's going to potentially stick to your counter or stick to your rolling pin. Like if you're going to roll a cookie, a little easier to control that. Okay, so I'm going to, for my dry ingredients, it says 2 cups of flour. This is a half cup measure, so I'm going to put 4 of these. Try to get as level as I can. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another thing this does not have in it, as you might have noticed, there's no salt. We're salting ourselves to death, and we're salting our pets to death as well. Salt and sugar unnecessarily added. If it's important to have salt and sugar in a recipe, you really do need it. Some things really have to have it to at least a small amount. But we need to be able to control that, and we should control that in our pets as well, because we're giving our diseases to our pets. I know several pets, several people who have cats with diabetes, or dogs without, we all have arthritis, they have allergies, some are gluten intolerant. I don't know about that, but we're passing along the same kind of things. I know my dogs suffer from skin allergies, from pollutants in the air. So anyway, not here to preach, but just to mention. So there's not going to be any sugar in the dry, and no salt. But there will be a little bit of leavening to make it, again, not so heavy, so they can chew it. And I'm going to use both baking powder and baking soda, and it says a 1/4 teaspoon of each, so just a little bit. So there's the baking powder, and then here's my baking soda, and we're going to add that. And then also these have a little bit of cinnamon. Now, adding flavors like that to dog treats seems maybe a little odd, but you know what? This also helps freshen their breath, and cinnamon has a lot of properties. Oh, it's a very healthy herb and spice. And one of the things it helps if you have arthritis. And my oldest dog does have arthritis, so this is really good at helping with that. So I'm going to put a 1/2 teaspoon of this. Oh, that smells so good. half a teaspoon of the cinnamon in with the other. And then I'm just going to mix it up really quickly with my trusty, well, I use my measure, there's another trick, I use my measuring spoon because it sort of cleans everything off. The flour sort of cleans everything off of my spoon. And then I keep my measuring spoons dry and they're good to use. It's good to use again. I only wash them if they're like sticky, messy, wet stuff. Okay, and I'm going to be baking more this afternoon, so I have those. Okay, so I'm just done with that. There's my dry. Now in my wet, I'm just using 4 ingredients, simple. And I want to show you another little trick. I have another little of my lazy tricks. I'm going to be using molasses, and one of the tricks, and you probably know this if you watch any cooking shows at all or you cook yourself, to get honey or molasses to come out of your measuring spoon or measuring cup is to, they say, spray the cup first with a little non-cooking spray, like Pam or something like that. Cooking spray, a little cooking spray, to get it to, so you can get all of it out because it sticks in there and it doesn't want to come out. Well, I have oil. There's oil in this recipe, and there's also water in this recipe. So I'm going to use my oil instead of spray, and I'm going to do them first, the water, then the oil, and then the molasses. Just to get my molasses out. I'm looking around because I'm doing 20 things at once. So this is not a liquid measure, but I'm going to use that. That's a 1/4 cup water. Because it's, again, for a dog cookie, so it's not that big of a deal. But remember, there's a little difference between a 1/4 cup. You should use a liquid measure for liquids. Okay, and then I'm going to put, I only need 2 tablespoons. And a 1/4 cup is the same as 4 tablespoons. Okay, which is how much water the recipe called for. And it calls for 2 tablespoons of oil, so I'm just going to use 1/2 of this cup, close enough. And then, as it comes out, you see what I've done? Now my measuring cup is oiled, so when I go to put my molasses in here, it's not going to stick. Okay? I love molasses. Oh, I love molasses. I can't even tell you. Love molasses. Get very nostalgic. My grandmother and my mother cooked with it all the time. Okay, so here I need the molasses. I need the 4 tablespoons, which again is the 1/4 cup. So we're gonna see if I have a 1/4 cup. It's gonna take a while to fill that. Let me put it down. Slow as molasses in January or slow as molasses in the end of December. There's a lot in the jar and it will come out and it will be a 1/4 cup, but you just have to, while we're waiting, I can sort of talk to you a little bit about this. For those of you that have stayed with me and are watching this video, I want to say something. You know this has been a really tough time for me and my husband, and it's really difficult for us to have to really tone back Christmas to the extent that we really are not really able to buy gifts and things for our children, and in all honesty, it's not that big of a deal. My children are grown, and my children are very successful and make good lives and have made good lives for themselves. They're all established in careers, and as are their men, as are their mates. So they're doing well, and they're able to take care of themselves, and frankly, most of them make more money than I do. So, in the beginning there was a little bit of, embarrassment. It was just more of a habit, because parents always give to their children, and when they were little, we used to really give them they got a lot of stuff. And even though we've taught them that was not what it was about at the holidays, it's really about the giving. You know what it's like if you are in a position where you really cannot give to people. It's a really hard that's a hard reality. It's not about getting. It is really about the giving. If you can't give, if you can't put money in the collection plate, or you can't, give, you can't donate to people, or, we drive past people all the time that, I wish we could help them. I'm saying I wish we could help them all, but we're at a place where, we're really not far from that, and we have to really be careful. Our money is a limited amount, and when it's gone, it's going to be gone. So until we get some work, that's just not going to happen. So anyway, what I'm saying is a lot of depression has gone along with that, and I've said that I've been very honest with you about that before. And, but it's not really about what we don't have. It's about not being able to give. And I've really come to realize that, and we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, as my dad would say, and we put our heads together and we came up with some interesting gifts that we've made. And a lot of them are food gifts, because my family loves food. And I have to say, I feel so much better. I have a house. I'm going to have a house here with gifts for all of my children and my grandchildren, and I'm going to have some friends over, and we're going to share some good times, and we're going to share even with our pets. Our pets are getting gifts, and that makes you feel really good. It makes you feel good. I used to go to the pet store and spend a lot of money on stuff for my pets, like we all do, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do that this year. I have to scale it back a little bit. There's still some in here, and I'm determined to get it out. But sitting here making these treats for my dogs, it means everything to me, and it has cheered me up, I have to say. It's cheered me up. So anyway, okay. Enough of that. If you're feeling depressed, I just want to say, if you feel depressed, as we all do something for somebody else. It changes your world. And that someone else can be a dog, can be a cat, can be a chicken. It really does change your world. Okay, so I have the molasses. I'm going to put, and look, it does come right out of there, because remember I had that oiled. It's really kind of cool the way it does come out. And I'm not adding anything that wasn't in the recipe, so. Kind of fun. Pretty clean. Okay. So, there's my wet. I gotta get my hands washed. This is really sticky. Okay. Already. Okay. So, I'm just mixing up my wet. And then I'm going to mix in my dry. And I think they're going to love these. I think they're going to love them. And then I'm going to just start mixing in my dry. Now, if I wanted to pull out the mixture, if you want to use the mixture, you could absolutely use the mixture. Don't mind me, I just have these little quirks. But if you're going to do it by hand, you want to add a little bit gradually over time, not just to avoid adding too much, but you don't want to get big lumps in there. It's hard to get rid of lumps if you're not using a mixer. If you're using a little mixer, that usually takes care of your lumps. But I'm not using a whisk. I could, but then I'd have to wash it. So I'm just going to add this a little gradually. But I'm going to add it all, unless it really thickens up too much, because remember it has the leavening in there too. Oh, it smells like Christmas. I have one more thing I'm going to make, so stay tuned. If you don't have a dog, I got one more thing I'm going to make for people. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. So, I'm going to just cut this, edit this down so that's not too long, or it might have to be 2. Now you see it's really starting to thicken up, and I have a lot of flour left. You know, I'm suspicious. You know what I'm suspicious of? Of myself. Because guess what I forgot to add? What is this whole video about? What is the video about? It's about pumpkin. Did I put pumpkin in here? No. It should have gone in the wet. I'm going to put it in right now. I seriously wonder what's the matter with me sometimes. Oh wait, let me get a... Okay, there's my pumpkin. See, I start to talk and I completely lose my sense of what I'm doing. And there's my timer. That's a timer for my dog biscuits. I can go right back and go see that. Okay, my little biscuits were done, so I turned the oven off and they're cooling in that oven to get hard, and they look fantastic. Smell fantastic. Okay, now this is much better. I've added the pumpkin. This is why I don't have a cooking show. If I have to talk and cook at the same time, I don't pay attention to what I'm doing. Now you see I have it all nice and loosened. I've loosened it up. So I have room to put my flour. So back to adding the dry. You know, you gotta leave your tries as well as your recipe. Because I would have said, oh, this is too much flour for the recipe. No, I didn't add everything. So I'm gonna get that in. Now the last bit, let me get my knife. Another knife. The last little bit, I'm going to put in with my hands. Just like in magic, you know, your hands are your best tool in cooking. Okay. Another tip, go in with one hand first. Because if I have to add more flour, I have a hand that I can go into the flour jar to get some more. But just like, you know, bread dough, I wish you could see it, I'm just tossing it around lightly. Trying to get all that flour worked in. And now I trust that it's about the right amount, so I'm going to go 2 hands. And remember, it's for dogs, so I can be a little rough with it. You know, if you're going to eat this yourself, you don't want to develop a gluten in the flour or anything. You know, I do have a leavening in this, so we don't want it to puff up too much. So anyway, I'm just getting it so that all the flour is worked in. See, the more I work it, I squeeze a little bit. Oh, it went out on it went out on the board, so that's where it's going. You can see it better on the board anyway. Especially if I move that. Just like bread, I'm going to get it all worked in. All that flour worked in. All the leavening worked in. Kind of kneading it like we would knead bread dough, but I'm just working to get it in. Okay, now I have a pretty nice dough, don't I? That's what we want to see. That's a nice dough. And my board's clean, so I'm going to put it back in my bowl. I'm going to wash my hands, and then I'm going to get a cookie sheet, and we're going to roll these into little balls, get them ready for the oven. So I'll be back. And the last little thing that I'm going to do is, just like if you're going to make peanut butter cookies, I'm just going to go around with a fork and just flatten them a little bit. If you move the fork 2 different ways, it makes a little pattern. No big deal. It's kind of fun. Makes it look more like a cookie too. Flattens them. You can flatten with your finger, but actually my fork was sticking, so I just put it in a little flour. Dipped it in flour. Of all different sizes, so we'll see what is the best size. I'm sure I'm going to have some dogs sampling these before I give them as gifts to see what are the best ones. Because I've never made this recipe before. Okay, so I'm just going to go around, and just like the other ones, I have a 350 oven, and I'm going to bake them about half an hour. Oh, I need some of this on this. There we go. About 30 minutes. And then I'm going to turn off the oven, just like I did on the other ones, and let them dry in the oven. So they're completely, they can cool with the oven as the oven temperature decreases, and then make sure all the moisture's out of them. Give them a longer shelf life, okay? So I'm going to do that, and I will show you at the end of the video. At the end of this video, I'll show you all the, so there I have my cookies, my little dog treats ready to go in the oven. And then I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to show you a people treat using the pumpkin again. So, okay, so I'm going to cut, and I will be back.